นะครับผมเป็นสปีกเกอร์นะครับผมจากชาวต่างชาติมาเลยนะครับผมที่จะมาพูดถึงด้านของ scaling is for heroes นะครับผมเพราะว่าในปัจจุบันนี้นะครับผมเราก็มีเขาเรียกว่าการแข่งขันสูงมากนะฮะเพราะฉะนั้นเนี่ยในเรื่องนี้ก็จะเป็นอีกหนึ่งเรื่องสำคัญนั่นเองนะครับผมกับ starting up is hard only 4% of all companies surpass the $1 million is in annual revenues creating a scale up is truly again the odds only 0.4% is all company achieve the $10 million mark and under 0.04% the $100 million. What does it take a bit deals and create a true scale up? There is no formula to success. Every scale up is a unique story in which luck always plays a major role. Still, there are some common elements that seem to maturity, increase the scale of success. Experience leadership, desire for scalability, and passion to get market timing right. โอเคแล้วก็ณตอนนี้นะครับมาพบกับหน้าของสปีกเกอร์ของเรากันดีกว่านะครับผม Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Mike, co-founder and CEO of Scaleup Academy.
It's a real pleasure to be with you today. So thank you so much for Sansani and for the Ministry of Science and Technology of Thailand for having me today. So I would like to start with the probabilities of making it really big. So there is only 4% of all companies who surpass $1 million in revenue. Only 4%. And there is only 0.4% who surpass the $10 million in revenue. And less than 0.04% the $100 million in revenues, which is the big goal of a venture-backed business. And you need to do this in a time frame from 5 to 7 years or from 7 to 10 years. So this is the Champions League of business. This is really, truly against the odds. It's really thinking big, getting completely uncomfortable, and going to the moon. And why scaling is 4 years? Again, it took almost 25 years for Apple to launch the iPhone. And we all know it was a huge success. 25 years. Elon Musk had a lot of successful companies, and even after exiting PayPal, one of the huge successes ever in the technology world, he lost everything and invested everything again. 100 million in SpaceX, 70 million in Tesla, and 10 million in SolarCity, and he had to borrow money for rent. This is really thinking big. It was already so much successful, a millionaire, almost a billionaire, and he took the risk again to try to do a moonshot again and again. Even these guys, it needed 20 years to create the huge success, Pokemon Go. So as you say, usually in these kind of conferences, we are always to try to think about a way to get there in a very short period of time. But short-term gratification will never let you have the long-term big goals. So if you want to do it big, you need to think about the next 10 and 25 years, and then next thing today, what you can do to get closer to that 10 or 25 years old vision. So it's about putting together the short term, the medium term, and the long term. And this is the point of everyone. Some of them waited 10, 15, 25 years of failures until they get a success. And after the success, even Elon Musk also failed again and needed to create another overnight success who took another 10 years. That's the point. As I was telling you, after 25 years, Apple had 9,600 employees. A little bit later, more than 100,000 employees. Do you see the kind of exponential scale and how long it takes? Because usually we think that life is like this. And it is never. It is like this. Sometimes it seems that you are not going forward. And miraculously, after 25 years, it happens. 25 years learning, making it better and better and better. That's what Jeff Bezos from Amazon says. Entrepreneurs must be willing to be misunderstood for long periods of time. This is art. You will get rejected. You will be called crazy. But you are focused on what you want in the 10, 25 years. And you need to have your team with you. And this is even more difficult. You need to convince your investors, your people, your customers, your providers, everyone in the business. It's about resilience. It's stories of struggles, setbacks, falling down and bouncing back. Success is how high you bounce when you hit bottom. It is when you are in the worst case situation that you figure out if you really want to achieve what you set for your 10, 25 years vision or not. Or you give up, or you keep going and keep learning until you get there. Okay, another story. Starbucks, after 25 years, 16,000 employees. All right, I know, this is really impressive. But if you compare to what they achieved from 95 to 2015, so 20 years, they have gone from 16,000 to over 200,000 employees. Do you see again the exponential scale? And how long it takes to have exponential scales? So here it's 1995, years it's 97.1. So 25 years to get here, and 20 years to much more than 10x. Oops. But what is a scale-up? Because usually there is a confusion about what is a startup and a scale-up. And nobody is talking about scale-ups. Very few countries, very few people know. Even the scale-ups themselves don't know that they are a scale-up. And there are a lot of people who faced this process already before. So a scale-up is an enterprise with an average annual growth in employees or turnover greater than 20% per annum over a 3-year period, and with more than 10 employees at the beginning of the period. Which means that starting up, it's about finding product market fit. It's a discovery process until you find out the right target segments, the right pricing to solve these target segments, the right providers, the right suppliers, the right cost of acquisition, the right lifetime value, the right channels to get to the client. So it's about discovering, testing, trial and error, trial and error, trial and error. And finally, it clicks. You get the first 10 clients. You get the first $1 million in revenue. You get the first 25 employees in the business. And know what? How do you scale it globally? And first mover advantage doesn't go to the company that starts up. It goes to the company who scales up. You can be the first in anything. But if you are always a micro enterprise with 1 employee, 2 employees, 5 employees, 10 employees, and with $100K in revenue, you will never be the first. You will never win big. You never get a huge company. You never scale. So the ones who win are the ones, sometimes it take 25 years, maybe 5 or 10 years to start up, to find the product market fit. And then they will be trying to discover how they create the business model that is truly scalable, and they hit the home run. Of course, the cycles today are much less than in the past. So I believe that the 25 years that Jeff Bezos and Walter Schultz from Starbucks and Amazon needed to get, or Apple, sorry, Steve Jobs, needed to get there could be today 15 or 10 years. In some cases, we have completely outliers who get 3 years or 1 year of product market fit. They are completely outliers. We all know that all of our ecosystems and all ourselves needed to invent tools like the Lean Startup Canvas. We need to learn about how to start up successfully, how to improve. We need to fail 3, 4, 5, 10 times before we start up successfully. What can happen next is that we still need to learn how to scale up. So we can make it everything right, 4% of all companies, $1 million US in revenue, and we can screw it up completely when we are scaling up. Why? Because very few people have done it before. 0.4, less than 0.04% of all companies ever. But there is an art and a science behind scaling up. What does it take to beat odds and create a true scale-up? As we all know, there is not a magic formula to start up successfully. There is an art part of the science. We know that if we do the right things, it would be much easier to make it happen. We will increase the probabilities. And that's what we'll be discussing today, about how do we increase the probabilities of becoming successfully, or how to scale up successfully. And if you see, again, this is the first part of the process. This is the part when you are starting up. When the founders, the founding team, and the small team, it's all. That's why all investor is asking about the team, the experience of the team. But when you are scaling up, you will face multiple crises, multiple challenges from stage to stage. For instance, to go from 12 employees or 10 employees to 50 employees, from 50 to 100, from 100 to 250, from 250 to 500 people, from 500 people to 16,000 people, from 16,000 people to 200,000 people, the challenges that we'll face will be completely different. And again, very few people have done it before. So for instance, let's talk about here. Here you have a leader, one leader and a bunch of helpers who do tasks. You start delegating tasks. From the 12 to the 25 and to the 50, you start having functions. The director of marketing, the director of sales, director of HR, of finance, of operations, of product, of engineering. From 50 to 100, you face another crisis. You need to have a team of teams. You need to have teams of 5 people. And the amount of people, imagine that each leader can manage and lead 5 people. With 50, you need 10 leaders. With 10, you need 1. With 500, you need 100 leaders. You know, one of the gaps, one of the obstacles to scaling up is leadership development, is access to talent, is access to market, and access to capital. And that's why we created Scaleup Academy. Why? Thank you for the 15 minutes. Why? Because we believe that the best people to let you know how to get there are the ones who got there. And we invite the best tech companies in the world to teach you the tools how to scale up, and also experiences to the entire top management of your team and the middle management. That's also another difference. Here, it's all about the funders. Here, it's all about the leadership team and the management layers, and everyone aligned and communicating wisely and effectively. That's it. We have some of the best companies in the world like Dropbox, Slack, Skyscanner, Alibaba, Tencent, helping you out with your challenges in leadership, in operations, in talent, in business development, customer success, product, design, etc. Feel free to follow us on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on the YouTube channel. You have multiple talks, multiple Q&As, available online. And what are some of the tools that we also give you? It's mainly 4 topics. Number 1, people. Number 2, strategy. Number 3, execution. And number 4, cash. Are your life plan aligned with the business plan? We have already talked about this in the beginning. If you are not committed to take 15 to 25 years to make it work, you will not make it work. That's why in your life plan, it should be one of your main goals. You should be able to take all the risks, all the odds to make it happen. So that's why the life plan of all employees, of all founders, needs to be aligned with the business plan, with the business goals. This is the first thing. Then you need to assure that you have the right people in the right seats as you scale up. Because communication, the complexity of communication will increase. In the beginning, you are all in the same office with 10 people, with 25 people, with 50 people. But then you start having operations in Asia, operations in Europe, operations in the US. You have different time zones, different offices, different cultures in the team. How do you assure alignment and that the execution pace doesn't go slower and you screw it up completely? Again, it's about having the right people on the right seats, doing the right things, and all their life plans aligned with the business plan. Second, you need to have a clear strategy to everybody. If you don't have the market size and an unfair advantage in that market, you will not make it. You can have the right people in the right seats doing the right things. If you don't have the strategy to conquer that incredible market size, you will not get it. Third, if you have the people, if you have the strategy, but if you are not executing, having the right daily stand-ups, the right weekly meetings, monthly meetings, quarterly meetings, annual meetings, assuring that the communication flows and that everyone is aligned, it will not happen. And finally, we all know that growth sucks cash. So, and if you run out of cash, you are dead. And it's one of the main problems when scaling up. So you need to keep tracking the cash flow in your bank account and to think about how to increase this cash flow. Should you increase the price? Should you increase the quantity you sell? Should you pay later to supplies? Should you collect in advance from your clients? What can you do to increase the cash flow in the business? And that's the point. If some of you are already, think that are already too old, remember the case of Steve Jobs and Ray Kroc, who bought the McDonald's at age 55 and make the huge success which we all know worldwide. Darwin invented the theory of evolution at 50 years old. So typically there is the common sense that all the amazing entrepreneurs are pretty young. A lot of them are not so young and they have failed multiple times before they make it right. We have already talked about this in the beginning. But of course, so in the first part of my talk, I talked about what is the difference between starting up and scaling up, some of the stories, what it takes to get successfully in the scale-up stage, and some of the tools. A very quick summary. Of course, I didn't have enough time to go in detail. But of course, the context and the circumstances where you are should not be an excuse, but are very relevant. And that's why Israel was considered a startup nation. The UK, Sweden, Singapore, even the US. But all these nations nowadays are thinking about how to become a scale-up nation. But it is because of the scale-ups that their companies and their countries are well known, worldwide. If there is not an American company who is in Thailand, you don't know the company, right? So, and it will help you out, even for the ones who want to enter the market. You already know the brand. You already know another people who have done it with before. So your trust level goes up. And after the Scaleup Nation, how to become an exit nation, to have a virtual cycle in the ecosystem. And again, it is not the first ones to start up that win, are the first ones to scale up that win. The same happens with nations. Competitive advantage doesn't go to the nations that focus on creating companies. It goes to the nations that focus on scaling companies. Hopefully next year we'll have a Scaleup award. It should be a dream if you come to this event next year, and we are already awarding the first Scaleup award ever in the story of Thailand. And let's think why there is a so huge impact of scale-ups. Remember the case of PayPal that I talked, Elon Musk? The management team and the leadership team of PayPal created this, all of them have splitted, created new companies. Remember, they had the skills. They have started up before, and they have scaled up before. And created YouTube, Palantir, Slide, LinkedIn, Yammer, a fund, Sequoia Capital, one of the best in the world. 500 startups, one of the best accelerators in the world. This is the executive team of PayPal. Do you see the impact? One huge scale-up created 10 or 15 scale-ups. But it's not scale-ups like 10 million. It's scale-ups who are valued over 1 billion. They are unicorns, all of them. Is this a coincidence? Do you think so? Okay, but this is only something that only happens in the US. No. This is a report from Magic in Malaysia. Data from World Bank analyzed for Endeavor Insight shows that scale-ups in Southeast Asia account for only 14% of all companies, but create 77% of the net new jobs. So the impact of scale-ups on GDP growth and on job growth is completely overwhelming. It's the 80-20 rule. 20% of the causes generate 80% of the results. As you see, this is the average job growth of startup companies, of non-scale-up companies, and the non-scale-up company can be a company that always become a micro business who never scales, and a scale-up company. Incredible percentages. Why scale-up matters for the ecosystem, and why our ecosystems need to be able to design policies to promote that scale-ups are in the right context to grow. Because scale-ups are productive. Because scale-ups create jobs. Because scale-up jobs are high quality. Because scale-ups are innovative and international. Scale-ups are across all sectors, and scale-ups are more diverse. Why? Because they need to be world-class, attracting talent and retaining talent. And to scale, they need to be world-class, solving the problems of their customers, of their investments, of their employees, and having a common mission. And that's also what we do with the ecosystems in Europe and here in Asia. That's why also we have been here in the first day running a workshop with science parks, universities, incubators, etc. Thanks again for the invite. And in the second day, working with some of your best Thai scale-ups to teach them the tools about how to scale up. So in order to promote a scale-up ecosystem, you need to work in 5 things. Number 1, access to talent. Right people on the right seats. Second, leadership. 10 people, 1 leader, 50 people, 20 leaders, you get it. Third thing, access to markets. If you is not able to get customers in your own markets and outside, worldwide, you will not scale. Fourth, the right finance. the appropriate investors for your rounds. Because at that scale, we'll have a round of 50 million US dollars, 100 million US dollars, 1B in some cases. It's not about a seed stage of 1 million, 500K, or even a Series A stage of 3 to 5 million or 5 to 10 million. It's much more money that you need in order to make it really big in a short amount of time. And finally, the infrastructure. If I have a company that today has 50 employees, and in 12 months I will grow to 100 employees, and in 24 months to 250 employees, I can't have a rent contract that obliges me to be there for 15 years without having flexibility to change. So we also need a kind of a scale-up campus with all the scale-ups together, exchanging experiences, and with flexibility in their rent. So it's about scaling infrastructure. So what is the difference between what is happening in Silicon Valley, in Israel, and in other ecosystems? Why some of the other ecosystems are still not able to produce some of the best companies in the world? It's because about what we have talked in the beginning. Only 0.4% of the companies surpass 10 million US dollars in revenue, 0.018 the 100 million barrier, and there are very few people who have done it, and the executive talent pool is available there. The majority of people who have done it are there. And very few people in some of ecosystems that are still on the startup nation status don't have yet this talent pool available. This is the main difference. Silicon Valley is the best place in the world to scale a startup. Once a startup, its product market fit, it should absolutely have a presence in the Valley to benefit from the knowledge and resources about scaling up. So, and this is the vision. It's not about how we go to Silicon Valley. Of course, if we want to do it big, we need to be able to have a strategy to go worldwide. That's not an option. It's an obligation. But the question is, how do we promote an ecosystem that has these skills inside, that you have the right context to scale up a company? So that's a little bit our mission, and we are very proud to be working with you guys these days. And you'd love to come back. And let's say that 2018 is being the Scale-up hero. We will be working side by side with you and the next Scale-up heroes. And that's the Scale-up heroes who build Scale-up nations, and the Scale-up nations need to create the conditions to have more Scale-up heroes. Khop kun krab. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. ขอบคุณมากๆนะครับผมแล้วก็เรื่องราวดีนะครับอย่างที่บอกไปแล้วนะครับว่าอย่างที่คุณไม้บอกนะฮะในเรื่องราวต่างๆนะครับผมณตอนนี้เนี่ยต้องดูนะครับว่าเขาเรียกว่าจับอะไรที่มันถูกต้องนะครับผมแล้วก็ที่สำคัญเลยนะฮะอยากจะบอกว่าในเรื่องของtiming เวลานะครับผมก็เป็นสิ่งที่สำคัญมากๆจริงๆนะครับผมที่จะหาในสิ่งที่มันถูกมันควรนะครับเพื่อมาเป็นการพัฒนาของตัวเองได้มากยิ่งขึ้นนั่นเองนะครับผมเอาล่ะครับแล้วก็สำหรับในวันนี้นะฮะซึ่งถือได้ว่าเป็นวันสุดท้ายแล้วนะครับผมของงานในครั้งนี้นะครับผมก็